Hey, it's Troy Casey, the certified health nut, here in Vancouver, Canada, with my boy Peter.
See, this is what we're going to get. Hi, Peter Boolkah here. Welcome to today's edition of the Transition Guide, where we're in Vancouver at the ActionCOACH Global Conference. And with me today, I have Troy Casey, the certified health nut. Welcome, Troy.
Thanks for having me on the show, Peter. I appreciate it.
So tell me, the certified health nut, what does that even mean? How did it come about?
Well, in the 60s, they used to have a term called health nut. That was for people that were basically crazy about health. And I grew up in the 60s. I was born in the 60s. I was in Haight-Ashbury, and there was plenty of health nuts that were friends with my parents. And so I got into health many years ago as a Versace model, sitting in Milan about 27 years ago. And I started studying health voraciously, and fasting and nutrition and juicing. And I'm a bit of a hippie tree hugger as it was, and I was in the Amazon rainforest working as a medicine hunter down there, and I was working with plant medicine down there, and the idea of certified health nut popped into my head. It's an amalgamation of my on-camera career and my natural medicine studies, and I'd been doing stand-up comedy at the time and improv. So I took all that to the internet. YouTube was a brand new reality. As soon as I came out of the jungle, I had all this exotic footage, and I started posting it up there, and the certified health nut was born, and has been evolving for the last 12 years almost.
And I mean, you're one of our keynote speakers, and actually your presentation yesterday resonated with so many people. It was so powerful.
The truth has a tendency to do that.
You know, and it was quite painful. And I suppose working with business owners, a couple of things that you said really resonated with me. Especially the older you get, the more it resonates, because like when you're younger, you kind of feel like you're infallible.
Invincible.
Yeah, totally. Nothing's ever going to get you. The reality is, the older that you get, the more smarter you have to become with your decisions. And one of the things that really sort of hit home, and it will hit home very much for my clients, was that you can never out-exercise a bad diet.
Yes.
And I tell you, I'm guilty of that, guilty as charged. My diet's never been as clean as perhaps it should be. More due to the fact that as an entrepreneur, you tend to become very busy. I'm sure you realise it, you're working very hard. And unfortunately, we've sort of ended up in a society of convenience food. And convenience is great unless you know what goes into the convenience food.
That's right.
So yeah, bad habits form. You can never out-exercise a bad diet. And really, that kind of resonates. I look at parallels, yeah, what you said about the diet, absolutely. And I see business owners making the same mistake in their businesses, where they try to outwork shitty habits.
Right.
Where they think, okay, do you know what, it's not working for me, I'm going to work harder, I'm going to work longer, and then what happens? Well, they end up doing 18, 19, 20-hour days, and a lot of you can resonate with that.
And they burn themselves out. And that's the same thing with the exercise. If people think they can just get in the gym and burn out their bad diet, they'll actually burn themselves out, because exercise is a stress. So one of the biggest misnomers I see in our society, and this is exemplified on the television show in the United States called The Biggest Loser. So basically they're just putting a rat in a cage on a wheel and running them. And so, and these people are 200 or 300 pounds overweight. An overweight body is a stressed body, because stress, the dominant stress hormone is cortisol. Cortisol, by nature, shuts down digestion and stores fat, and it puts blood to the extremities, and it's fight or flight. And so, and most people don't understand the whole stress mechanism. Putting inflammatory agents or not putting enough high-quality nutrition to balance out your blood chemistry will also cause a stress response in the body, and you do that continuously and habitually, and you can't outperform that with exercise. And so I like to say, you know, the corollary to that is that I say fitness is about 75% of your diet. You know, if you eat super clean, that's most of your fitness right there.
And that's that's really cool. But most people tend to exercise because they don't want to have that clean diet.
Yes, they're living the misnomer. They're living the disinformation lie. I don't know if it's a direct lie. It's kind of just implied. Like, oh, I'll just go to the gym and I'll have this chocolate cake and all this other junk food that I know is not good to me. And the big thing is, Peter, what I teach about the big misnomers is the exercise, as well as the food. The food has been tampered with. In your country, you have what's called E's, all the chemicals. And these things affect the body in an adverse way. The body is an intelligent biocomputer. It's very intelligent. You start putting in these inputs that create chaos in the body, and all sorts of dysfunction can happen. Liver has over 900 functions. And so if you're clogging up the liver with artificial coloring, artificial flavoring, too much sugar, too much salt, not even good salt, not sea salt, but sodium chloride, which is what most people that put salt in their food additives, it's a denatured salt, if you will. Because I have to teach everything about what's real food, and real Celtic sea salt is real good food. And so, but table salt is toxic. It's been isolated and standardized. They actually take the other minerals and they sell them to farms. And so when you're eating this on a regular and constant basis, lo and behold, what we get is the statistics that we have right now in the Western world. 70% of the American people are obese or overweight right now. And that's because they're eating food that is not food, or it's denatured and devoid of nutrition. And so that's the truth.
Yeah, and I think the big thing for me was actually, it isn't the fact that we eat a lot of the processed stuff, it's actually the effect the processed stuff is having on your body. And a lot of people just think, okay, it's going to make you get fat. But that's probably the least of your problems.
Well, that's true, and not only that, but the food isn't so much for your energy, it's actually to rebuild your tissues. So you want to rebuild your eyeballs, you want to rebuild your spinal cord, your nervous system, your nose hairs, all these things have function. Your liver, your organs regenerate every 6 to 9 months. Your red blood cells regenerate every 120 days. So what quality of tissue do you want to have in your body? High quality or low quality? Or let's use the Ferrari or sports car analogy. Does that thing come with an owner's manual? You're going to shine the outside of it. You're going to change the oil. You're going to run diesel in it. You're going to run whiskey in it. Like, what you going to run in it? You might want to run high octane fuel if you're going to spend the type of money and take care of that. And the human being body temple, this is what I postulate as the temple of God. What are you going to run in this thing? How are you going to take care of this thing?
And this is really interesting because I tell you, for most of you that don't know Troy is actually 50 years old. Doesn't look 50 years old.
51. I'm 52 at the end.
My bad. 51. And what's really interesting is actually at 51, Troy's thinking, okay, I'm not coming towards the end of my life. I'm actually thinking, I'm going to have another 30, 40 great years ahead of me before I even have to think about anything.
Well, I'm shooting for 75 to 100 because 75 to 100 years from now, because I studied, Dr. Lewis Carroll said the cell is immortal, depends on what you feed it. Dr. Bruce Lipton, the study of epigenetics. It's not your genetics that you're born with, it's what you do to your genetics, the environment that you create for it. And I'm into what's possible. And I'm also into the theory of, shoot for the moon, land in the stars if you don't make it. So I'm looking at another 75 to 100 years from here. And I want my health intact. I don't want to be pushed around in a wheelchair. I don't want to be in a home. I don't want to be dying till the day I die. I want to be living.
And how many people do we know 50 plus where their life is behind them, where all they're doing is surviving because they have medical conditions, they have mobility issues, and really their quality of life is quite shocking. In fact, the Dalai Lama, you quoted a beautiful quote from the Dalai Lama. Do you remember what that quote was?
Yeah, it's something to the effect of, the Dalai Lama was asked, what intrigues you most about mankind? And he said, man, because he sacrifices his health to make money, and then he sacrifices the money he makes to recoup his health, and he never really lives in the present moment, acting as if he's never going to die, and then dying, never really have lived. And so, and we see this in the world today. People are go, 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 go. But what quality of life do they have, and what do they have to show for it? I like to say that, the only two things you have in the third dimension are your word and your health.
And I see so many business owners, and I've been guilty of it, where I've been working, sacrificing my health, and then thinking I'm going to buy my health later. when really that is just stupid.
Well, you could buy your health later, but you might not be able to, and be in that position of, being sorry. And so I encourage people and clients to take their health seriously now, put high quality nutrition in their body on a regular and constant basis. That way they pay the doctor, or they pay the farmer now, not the doctor later. So pay the farmer, pay now, not later. And so get the high quality nutrition, get the good sleep, move your tissues. If you're on the computer, driving in cars, or sitting at desks like we all are, make sure that you can lift your arms over your head. Make sure that your shoulders work. Make sure that your hips work. Make sure that your body tissues move. Because it's not so much can we, hike Kilimanjaro, or, we can do a marathon or any of this stuff. How about let me get something out of the cabinet, or let me pick up my grandchildren? Just basic movements. Let me be able to breathe. Let me be able to take a poop.
Yeah, and quite a few people actually do struggle with the basics the older they get.
That's right.
Because they neglect their body. And in fact, one of the correlations I kind of sort of bring to my clients, I make sure that most of my clients have a personal trainer, because actually, do you know what? A fit body equals a healthy mind. You cannot make great business decisions if you're not thinking clearly.
Yep.
There's absolutely no way you can do that. However, listening to you yesterday, you've absolutely taken this to a new level, where it isn't just about the exercise, etc. It is very much about the nutrition. You've got to sort of feed your body. Now, the stuff you do is very impactful. I mean, you moved the room yesterday. If people want more information about what it is you do, where do they go?
They can go to troycasey.com. Also, I run my business on social media as well, and I'm pretty active over there. I make a lot of videos, so I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, and I'm on YouTube, and I'm on all the other ones as well, LinkedIn, but I'm more dominant where I can put videos, because I do a lot of videos.
And so much of your stuff is free, isn't it?
Yes, I've been giving away my stuff for free for years. I'm here to help people. I'm here to turn on humanity. The basis of Certified Health Nut is to make holistic health fun and sexy, fun and cool. Brand it out, just like James Dean and Marilyn Monroe has been done in Hollywood for the last 50, 60, 70 years. But what the advertising companies are, they end up selling garbage to the people that they don't need. And so let's flip that script around. Let's now use social media. Let's put the messages out of what's possible and get the world healthy.
So again, as an entrepreneur out there, if you guys really want that successful business, you really got to think of it on 3 levels. You've got to be thinking, how are you fueling your body? How are you keeping your body mobile? And then what effect does that have on your mind? Because at the end of the day, you are the leaders of a business. If you are sick, your business is going to be sick. Troy, loved having you today.
Thank you so much.
If you were going to give the people tuning in today 3 pieces of advice, what would they be?
Well, first I'd like to say that the mind is an embodied process. So whatever's going on in your mind is showing up into your body. So strong mind, strong body. Flexible mind, flexible body. I recommend eating super high quality food at this point in time in human history, and that does mean organic, non-GMO, etc. High quality, farmer direct, whole foods, as much as possible. I also recommend becoming your own doctor and moving your body as much as possible. And that doesn't mean strenuous exercise. Walking is the way the human body is designed to go through time and space. So walking is enough if you do it consistently. Walk where you love to go. Take off your shoes, ground into the earth, hug a tree, spend time in nature, and you will feel better. And when you feel better, you perform better. And we need better performance in this world with high-level cognition, in my opinion.
Thank you, Troy. So if you can resonate with anything you've listened to today, you've seen today, head over to boolkah.com and get in contact. And remember, failing to learn is learning to fail.